What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today we're going to be talking about how the EV market is crashing. Now, if you bought an EV in the last few years or you're thinking about buying one, make sure you watch the whole video the whole way through. We're going to talk about vehicle values, some of the new programs that are coming out, and manufacturers are actually admitting that they're going to be lowering prices on all EVs across the board. Now, it's no secret that the EV agenda is being pushed very, very hard by the government and by also manufacturers that have to follow these guidelines. And don't get me wrong, I know eventually we're all going to be driving EVs, but I think they're pushing too hard and too quick, and now they're starting to see their plan backfire. So we're going to go over vehicle values first. Let me grab my computer. So the first car we're going to be talking about is actually one that I really, really like. It is an Audi e-tron RS. Now, these things are beautiful. The build quality is amazing. If I had to buy an EV today, it would probably be an e-tron. So let's go ahead and take a look at this thing. Now, I remember these things were selling over MSRP at the actual dealership. When I bought my Audi R8, these things were there and they wanted 10 to 20 grand over MSRP. So you're looking at about maybe $140, $150 is what people are paying for these things. So right now we're going to be looking at a thing called MMR, which is auction wholesale pricing, what us dealers pay and what banks will lend up to coming in the future. So these numbers are very important. So if we look back to last year, if you were to buy an Audi e-tron, you're looking at somewhere around $124,000 in value, which kind of lines up with our numbers. And if you fast forward 6 months, you're looking at $92,000. So almost $20,000 in value just disappeared in 6 months. But even worse, if you look in the last 30 days, it's dropped all the way down to $69,000. So you lost more than half of the vehicle value just within 1 year, which is crazy. And this is the nicest fully loaded model that they have. Just imagine if you had a base model, how much the values have dropped. Oh, I forgot to add that Ed from VinWiki just made a video talking about the Audi e-tron. They're doing some crazy stuff with lease options to get people into these things. We're going to talk about lease options and price dropping and all these crazy things that dealerships are doing to drop prices towards the end of the video. Next, we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite EV, the Tesla Model S Plaid. The only thing faster than its 0 to 60 is how fast it drops in vehicle value. So these things were about 120 grand fully loaded, brand new. I remember my buddy bought one. I think it was 120 something out the door, 119,000. And so if we look right here, last year they were averaging at auction somewhere around $91,000. Seems to line up. 6 months ago, you're looking at $81,000. So they lost 10 grand. But if we look in the last 30 days, it dropped all the way to $67,000. So I remember when my friend tried to trade in his 1-year-old 10,000 mile Tesla Model S Plaid, they offered him $60,000 at Tesla, which was crazy. And then on top of that, remember, they lowered the prices of all their vehicles. When he paid 119 or 120 grand for it, the new fully loaded Model S Plaid is only $96,000. So they pretty much cut him off at the knees and he lost all that value because they dropped the prices, which I'll go into here in a minute. Now, the next we're gonna be talking about is a very popular EV truck, the Rivan R1. Now, when these things came out, I remember people paying, I think it was like $140,000, $130,000 all over, bring a trailer. I've seen some go for more, but that's kind of the average. So if we look right here, last year it doesn't show anything. I think it's because there was enough of them going through the auction, but you just figure around $110,000 just is what the average asking price was. Now, 6 months ago, it dropped all the way to $70,000. So I'm sure that alarmed a lot of people. But if you look right here, in the last 30 days, they're averaging somewhere around $64,000 at auction. So I've seen a few of these go for like the mid 55,000s, which is actually a great deal for this truck. The build quality is very, very nice. I actually love the interior. I think it's nice. So if this thing gets in the high 40s, low 50s, maybe I might consider this being my first EV, but great trucks, but unfortunately, I don't know why these ones are just not holding their value. Now, we've talked about all these nice luxury cars. What about something affordable that regular people drive? Now, one of my favorite affordable electric cars is the Kia EV6. I think the styling is great, the interior is very, very sharp, and the build quality is actually very, very good. I rented one for a few days, and I was very impressed with how everything operated. But let's go ahead and take a look here. Now, those things here in Las Vegas were selling for about 20 grand over MSRP, so you're looking around $60-ish thousand is what people are buying these things for about a year ago. So this is saying that at auction last year, they were selling for somewhere around $43,000. Fast forward 6 months, the prices dropped all the way to $32,000. So they lost $10,000 in value in just 6 months. But at insult to injury, if you look in the last 30 days, they nosedived all the way to $27,000. Now, I thought that since it was a more affordable EV, that it would keep its price up because of the price barrier. But as you can see here, the projected average for next month is somewhere around $26,000, which is just letting you know that the market is just not there for these EVs. I know they're pushing it. I know that they want people to really get into these things, but I don't think people want them. Now, the next one we're going to be talking about is an epic fail. Now, I'm a huge fan of Ford, and this breaks my heart to read this one. Now, one of my buddies here in Vegas picked up a Plaid, and he paid, I think it was either $35,000 or $50,000 over MSRP to be one of the first people to get a Ford Lightning Platinum. Now, I think all in all it was around $150,000 for this truck out the door, which is crazy. But if we look at last year, they're averaging somewhere around $72,000 at auction. And if you fast forward 6 months, the price drops all the way down to $56,000. Whew. And in the last 30 days, these things were trading for somewhere around $48,000 at auction. Now, unfortunately, when the Ford Lightning was put out, I think they rushed it just to get on that EV craze because people are losing their minds. This thing had so many problems. Literally, the automotive YouTuber section destroyed this car. They were testing it. The battery sucked. The cars would brick. They'd break down. All kinds of issues, and people really threw it out there, and it just destroyed the credibility of the Ford Lightning. A lot of these cars were recalled. They actually put out a thing where they're stopping the sales of new Lightnings because of so many problems they've had with the old ones. And then on top of that, there's still brand new 2023s still sitting on the lot in some dealerships because nobody wants to buy them. So this was an epic fail by Ford. So I had to save the best for last. This is the biggest loss leader out of the whole group. Now, when this thing was announced, it was absolutely insane. People were putting down their deposits, and supposedly the bill dates are out for 2 years. Now, I know majority of those were car flippers because we've seen what happened to the market in the last 6 months. And we're talking about the Hummer EV. Now, I remember when the Hummer EV came out, people were literally trying to sell these things for $100,000 over MSRP. You could see them all over Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, eBay, Auto Trader, Car Gurus. These things were everywhere. Everybody realized they can punch a ticket and get a free $100,000 if they had an allocation to this. And so everybody jumped on the bandwagon. And I think this is what made the car fail. Now, just keep in mind, remember a year ago, people were paying $200K for this. If we look at the auction last year, you're probably paying around $167,000 for this car, which is on par for that from retail. But if we look in the last 6 months, it dropped all the way to $149,000. So that's not even the worst part. Look at this. In the last 30 days, it's dropped all the way to $104,000, which is crazy. That means that just from auction numbers, they lost almost $67,000 in value in 1 year. And when it comes to retail value, look at this number right here. Projected average for next month at auction is $98,000. So that means that if you bought one of these cars retail for $200,000, you just lost $100,000 across the board in vehicle value. So just imagine a bank that owns this loan is probably wanting to hang themselves because they see how much money they're going to lose if they have to repo this car. And this is the problem with EVs, is the resale value is falling. And people said, oh, well, it's just this car because it's bad or whatever else. I gave you tons of makes, tons of models, and there is no rhyme or reason. Luxury, exotic, economy cars, affordable cars, it doesn't matter. EVs just don't hold their value. I feel it's like a cell phone. Everybody wants the newest, latest thing, and it's affecting the vehicle values. And I feel really bad for the people that bought these things because now I don't know what they're going to do. Next, we're going to be talking is declining sales in 2024. Now, the last few months, every manufacturer has been trying to do whatever they can to sell more EVs. Last year, Tesla dropped its price, I think, over 4 times, which literally screws anybody that's ever bought into Tesla in the last 8 years. And if you don't understand the math, if they drop, let's say, the new car by 5%, if you have a car that's 2 years old, you got to double that. You just lost 10% of your vehicle value. 3 to 4 years old, now you lost 20% of your value. And that's what happens when new car prices come down. That's why every manufacturer will never drop the prices unless they absolutely have to. They come up with some sort of rebates, special financing where maybe they'll give you 0%, they'll give you 84 months so you can afford the payment, or they'll give you a magical rebate of $5,000, $10,000 to help you get into this car. But the big news I want to hit you with today is this is how I know that the EV market is crashing. Just about every major manufacturer is announcing price reductions. This is huge. The reason why I made fun of Tesla and how Elon dropped the price of all these cars thinking he's doing the right thing, it screwed all the EV manufacturers across the board because now everybody has to lower their price, which you guys are thinking, that's great, we should lower the prices of the cars, but what about all the people that bought them before? So if you bought a new EV a month ago and you paid $50,000 for it and magically they drop it to $45,000, you already have $5,000 in negative equity before you even make your first payment. That's how crazy it is. And so supposedly Ford Lightnings are coming out with a massive reduction, and just about every manufacturer is doing this. And one thing that I saw that was absolutely hilarious, Automotive News reported the California EV sales have dropped dramatically in the last 2 quarters. I'll leave a link here to their news story, which was funny. You figured the biggest state that was pushing these things would be the biggest buyer of EVs, and they're actually pulling away. So unfortunately, I think that this is the way the market is going. I don't know if they're going to be able to rebound it. I've already heard major manufacturers pretty much putting the brakes on a lot of EV production and pushing it back. And I guarantee you within the next 6 months, these manufacturers are going to go to the government and say that, hey, that mandate, you want everything EV by 2030 or 2035, I can't remember what it is not going to happen. Now, don't get me wrong. EVs 100% are the future. I know you guys think that I don't like EVs, but believe it or not, the military has some solid state batteries in their vehicles. If you guys don't know what a solid state battery is, you can Google it. It doesn't catch on fire. It holds 3 times the charge and you can get 3 times the distance. It's an amazing feat of technology, but it is crazy expensive. It uses ceramic to basically flow the electrons through the battery. Now, if they bring this to actual EVs, oh yeah, I think everybody would buy it because you could buy a car that could charge in an hour that you could drive 600-700 miles. Why wouldn't you do that? It would basically destroy gas all the way. But with all the problems that EVs are having, and I don't care what manufacturer you're picking, they all have problems, they all have recalls, and these are just some of the things of the growing pains of an EV compared to an internal combustion engine. Because you have to remember, regular cars have been on the road for over 100 years. So major manufacturers have had decades to perfect this type of technology where, think about it, less than 5 years ago, EVs were just something that people were thinking about and Tesla was putting them out there just to see what would happen. So I'm sure in the next 6 to 7 years, they're going to get much, much better, but they're going to have growing pains every single step of the way. And hopefully this battery technology picks up. And like I said, Google it, solid state batteries, something truly amazing. But anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave in the comment section below what you guys think of EV values. Are you thinking about buying an EV? Have you bought an EV? Have you checked the vehicle pricing? If so, definitely do that. If you're thinking about refinancing it, getting a lower rate when the interest goes back down, you have to make sure that you owe less than what the vehicle is worth, because if you don't owe that, you won't be able to refinance it. So there's a lot of things coming up, and also if you want to trade it in, you should know your vehicle value. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, please like and subscribe if you learned anything. Follow me on Instagram at Lucky Lopez, and we'll see you next video.